The Galactic Culinary Exchange Program. The Galactic Council's chambers buzzed with excitement as representatives from various species gathered to discuss the latest initiative. The Galactic Culinary Exchange Program. Ambassador Zixna, a tall, willowy alien with iridescent skin, stood at the podium, her multiple eyes blinking in sequence as she addressed the assembly. "Esteemed colleagues," she began, her melodious voice carrying through the hall. "Today marks a historic moment in our pursuit of interstellar unity. We are proud to announce the launch of the Galactic Culinary Exchange Program, an initiative designed to foster understanding and friendship among our diverse cultures through the universal language of food." Murmurs of approval rippled through the audience. Food had always been a cornerstone of diplomacy, even in the far reaches of space. However, as Zixna continued her speech, outlining the program's goals and expectations, one particular announcement caused a stir among the delegates. "And we are thrilled to welcome our newest members to the galactic community, the humans of Earth." A hush fell over the chamber, followed by a wave of whispers. Earth was known throughout the galaxy as a Deathworld, a planet so fraught with danger that it seemed impossible for intelligent life to evolve there. Its inhabitants were regarded with a mixture of fear and fascination. Commander Sarah Chen, the human representative, stepped forward. Her sturdy frame and confident stride contrasted sharply with the delicate aliens around her. "On behalf of Earth, we are honored to participate in this exchange," she said, her voice firm and clear. "We look forward to sharing our culinary traditions and learning from yours." As the meeting adjourned, delegates clustered in small groups, discussing the implications of Earth's involvement. Gaxlor, a gelatinous being from a low-gravity world, oozed closer to his friend Krill, a insectoid creature with a hard exoskeleton. "Can you believe it?" Gaxlor burbled, his translucent body rippling with excitement. "Actual Deathworlders in our kitchens. What do you think they eat? Rocks? Lava?" Krill's antennae twitched nervously. "I heard they consumed the flesh of other creatures, for pleasure." Their conversation was interrupted by the approach of Commander Chen, who had overheard their exchange. "Actually," she said with a smile, "we have a diverse cuisine that includes plants, animals, and even some fungi. I'm looking forward to introducing you to some of our favorite dishes." Gaxlor and Krill exchanged uneasy glances. The thought of consuming animal flesh was deeply unsettling to many galactic species, whose worlds had evolved past the need for such primitive practices. As the delegates dispersed, anticipation and apprehension hung in the air. The Galactic Culinary Exchange Program was about to begin, and no one quite knew what to expect from the mysterious humans and their Deathworld cuisine. In the following weeks, culinary academies across the galaxy began preparing for the arrival of their human students and instructors. Kitchens were modified to accommodate the higher gravity needs of the Earthlings, and emergency medical protocols were established, just in case. On Earth, Sarah Chen oversaw the selection of chefs and culinary students who would represent humanity in this interstellar exchange. "Remember," she briefed them, "our goal is to showcase the diversity and richness of Earth's cuisines while being respectful of our hosts' biological differences. We're not here to shock or intimidate, but to share and learn." Chef Miguel Rodriguez, known for his innovative fusion of traditional Mexican cuisine with modern molecular gastronomy, raised his hand. "But surely we can introduce them to some of our spices. A little heat never hurt anyone." Sarah sighed, remembering the briefings on alien physiology. "Just start mild. Okay. We don't want an interplanetary incident over a jalapeno." As the Earth delegation prepared to depart, news channels across the planet buzzed with excitement. Humanity, long isolated in the galaxy due to their reputation as dangerous Deathworlders, was finally getting a chance to prove they were more than just hardy survivors. They were a species with a rich culture, and food was at its heart. Little did they know, their culinary adventures were about to shake the foundations of galactic gastronomy and test the limits of interspecies diplomacy. Humans introduce Earth cuisine. The gleaming spires of the Galactic Culinary Academy on Centauri Prime stretched towards the purple sky, a testament to the importance the allied species placed on the art of food preparation. Inside its halls, beings from 100 different worlds mingled, each adapted to unique environments and dietary needs. Into this diverse mix stepped the human delegation, led by Chef Miguel Rodriguez. Despite the briefing from Commander Chen, Miguel couldn't help but feel a surge of pride and excitement. He was about to introduce the flavors of Earth to beings who had never experienced anything like them before. "Welcome, Earth representatives," chirped Professor Sinta, an avian being with brilliantly colored plumage. "We are most curious about your world's gastronomic offerings. Perhaps we could start with something mild." Miguel grinned, reaching into his bag. "Of course, Professor. I thought we'd begin with a Earth classic, bread and olive oil." The assembled alien chefs leaned in, their various sensory organs twitching with curiosity. Miguel sliced a fresh baguette, its crust crackling satisfyingly. He then poured a small pool of golden olive oil onto a plate, adding a sprinkle of herbs. "Please, try it," he encouraged, demonstrating the act of dipping the bread into the oil before taking a bite. Hesitantly, the alien chefs followed suit, using various appendages to mimic the human's actions. The reaction was immediate and varied. Gaxlor, the gelatinous being, absorbed the bread and oil directly into his body. His translucent form shimmered with pleasure. Oh, the contrasts! Soft and crunchy, smooth and rough. Krill, however, seemed less impressed. "It's not unpleasant," he chittered, mandibles working overtime to process the unfamiliar texture. "But where is the nutritional paste?" Miguel chuckled. "On Earth, we eat not just for sustenance, but for pleasure. The combination of flavors and textures is an art form." This concept seemed to baffle many of the alien chefs. On their worlds, eating was often a purely functional activity, designed to deliver maximum nutrition with minimum fuss. Encouraged by the mostly positive response, Miguel moved on to the next dish. "Now let's try something with a bit more flavor. This is a simple pasta with tomato sauce." He deftly prepared the dish, the rich aroma of garlic and herbs filling the air. Some of the alien chefs recoiled at the strong smell, while others leaned in, intrigued. As they sampled the pasta, the reactions were even more pronounced. Sinta's feathers puffed out in surprise. "Great galaxies! This is intense. What is this sensation?" Miguel raised an eyebrow. "That's just a bit of garlic and basil, pretty mild by our standards." The term mild caused a stir among the aliens. If this was mild, what did humans consider strong flavoring? As the lesson progressed, Miguel introduced more Earth dishes, each seemingly more potent than the last to the alien palates. A simple chicken stir-fry had krill running for water, while a bowl of mildly spiced chili nearly caused a diplomatic incident when Gaxlor temporarily lost control of his form, splattering against the wall. By the end of the session, the alien chefs were both exhausted and exhilarated. They had experienced flavors and textures beyond anything in their culinary lexicon. Some were eager to learn more, while others seemed traumatized by the experience. Professor Xinta approached Miguel as the class dispersed. "Chef Rodriguez, your cuisine is fascinating, but I fear it may be too much for many of our students. Perhaps we could focus on your world's vegetable preparations. Surely those are less intense." Miguel nodded, though inwardly he grinned. He hadn't even brought out any real spices yet. "Of course, Professor. Tomorrow, I'll introduce you to the wonderful world of salads." As news of the human cuisine spread through the academy, anticipation and apprehension grew in equal measure. The humans were certainly living up to their reputation as creatures from a Deathworld, able to casually consume what many species considered to be dangerously strong substances. In their quarters that evening, the human delegation debated their approach. "Maybe we should tone it down a bit," suggested sous chef Aisha Patel. "We don't want to overwhelm them." Miguel shook his head. No, we're here to share our culture, not water it down. They'll adapt. Besides, wait until they try your vindaloo. As they laughed and planned the next day's lessons, none of them realized that their culinary adventure was about to escalate into a full-blown galactic incident. The Great Spice Incident. The third day of the Galactic Culinary Exchange Program dawned with an air of nervous anticipation. Word had spread quickly about the intense flavors of Earth cuisine, and the alien chefs approached the day's lesson with a mixture of fear and fascination. Miguel, determined to showcase the full spectrum of Earth's culinary delights, had decided it was time to introduce some real spices. Today, he announced to the class, we're going to explore the wonderful world of heat. A ripple of unease passed through the alien chefs. Krill's antennae drooped visibly, while Gaxelor's gelatinous form quivered slightly. Don't worry, Miguel reassured them, misinterpreting their reactions as excitement. We'll start with something mild. He began by introducing black pepper, a spice considered utterly mundane by human standards. To the alien chefs, however, it was like a flavor bomb. Cinta sneezed violently, her colorful plumage standing on end. Krill dropped his spoon, his compound eyes widening in shock. Undeterred, Miguel moved on to demonstrate the preparation of a mildly spicy curry. As he added turmeric, cumin, and a modest amount of chili powder to the pan, the alien chefs watched in horrified fascination. Is he trying to create some sort of chemical weapon? Gaxlor burbled anxiously to Krill. The insectoid chef's mandibles clacked nervously. I've heard stories about Deathworlders, but this is beyond imagination. As the curry simmered, filling the air with its rich, spicy aroma, chaos erupted in the classroom. Several chefs from aquatic species began to emit distress pheromones, causing their classmates to panic. Cinta's feathers molted spontaneously, covering her station in a rainbow of plumage. Miguel, still oblivious to the severity of the situation, cheerfully served the curry. Go on, give it a try. This is a favorite comfort food on Earth. Hesitantly, a few brave souls ventured to taste the dish. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. Gaxlor, upon ingesting a small portion, began to bubble violently. His gelatinous form turned a bright red, and he started to emit a high-pitched whistle. Krill, after a single bite, fell backwards, his exoskeleton smoking slightly. Cinta managed a small taste before letting out a squawk that shattered several nearby beakers. By the cosmic egg, she screeched. It burns. It burns. The classroom descended into pandemonium. Alien chefs rushed for water, emergency neutralizers, and in some cases, the exits. The air was filled with a cacophony of distress calls in a dozen different languages. Miguel stood in the middle of the chaos, curry ladle in hand, utterly bewildered. But it's just a mild tikka masala, he muttered, taking a bite himself. To him, it tasted perfectly pleasant, perhaps even a bit bland. As alarms blared and emergency medical teams rushed in, news of the Great Spice Incident spread through the academy like wildfire. Rumors flew that the humans had unleashed some sort of biological weapon, or were attempting to assassinate the other species through their food. Commander Sarah Chen, alerted to the unfolding disaster, rushed to the scene. She found Miguel surrounded by a group of angry alien administrators, all talking at once in their native languages. What happened? She demanded, pushing through the crowd. Miguel shrugged helplessly. I just made some curry. A mild one. Sarah groaned, realizing the magnitude of the cultural misunderstanding. What was mild to a human was apparently catastrophic to alien physiologies. As medical teams treated the affected chefs for what they described as acute flavor poisoning, Sarah knew she had a diplomatic nightmare on her hands. The humans had just confirmed every fear the galactic community had about Deathworlders and their dangerous ways. In the aftermath of the Great Spice Incident, emergency meetings were called. The future of the Galactic Culinary Exchange Program hung in the balance, and with it, humanity's hopes for smooth integration into the galactic community. As Sarah prepared to face the Galactic Council and salvage the situation, she couldn't help but wonder, how could they bridge this vast gulf in culinary tolerance? Was there a way to make alien species understand that what humans considered a comfort food could be perceived as a weapon of mass destruction by others? The stage was set for a clash of cultures that would test the limits of interstellar diplomacy, all sparked by a simple curry that any human child could have eaten without a second thought. Alien retaliation and cultural misunderstandings. In the wake of the Great Spice Incident, the Galactic Culinary Academy was in an uproar. Emergency protocols had been activated, and the human delegation found themselves confined to their quarters, ostensibly for their own protection. Commander Sarah Chen paced the room, her usually calm demeanor cracking under the strain. A curry, Miguel. A curry nearly caused an interstellar incident. Chef Rodriguez sat slumped in a chair, his usual enthusiasm dampened. I still don't understand. It was such a mild recipe. Their discussion was interrupted by a chime from the communication panel. A holographic image of Ambassador Zixna flickered into view, her multiple eyes blinking in rapid succession, a sign of extreme agitation in her species. Commander Chen, she began, her melodious voice strained. The Galactic Council demands an explanation. Several member species are calling for the immediate expulsion of humans from the program and a revaluation of Earth's status in the galactic community. Sarah straightened, adopting her most diplomatic posture. Ambassador, I assure you this was a simple misunderstanding. We had no idea our food would have such an effect on other species. Zixna's eyes blinked skeptically. Misunderstanding. Commander, your chef unleashed a substance that incapacitated half the class. Some are calling it an act of biological warfare. As Sarah attempted to smooth things over, promising a full investigation and cooperation, the situation outside was escalating. In the Academy's main dining hall, a group of alien chefs had gathered, led by the still-smoking Krill and the now violently purple Gaxlor. They were convinced that the humans' actions were a deliberate attempt to assert dominance through culinary terror. We must respond in kind. Krill chittered, his mandibles clacking angrily. Show these Deathworlders that we too can create foods of mass destruction. Gaxlor burbled in agreement, his gelatinous form still occasionally hiccuping small flames. Yes, let us concoct a dish so bland, so nutritionally dense, that no human could possibly stomach it. The assembled chefs cheered, their various appendages waving in enthusiasm. They quickly set to work, each contributing ideas from their own world's blandest, most functional foods. Meanwhile, in the human quarters, Sarah had finished her call with the ambassador. Okay, we need a plan, she announced to her team. We need to show them that our food isn't a weapon, that it's meanwhile. In the human quarters, Sarah had finished her call with the ambassador. Okay, we need a plan, she announced to her team. We need to show them that our food isn't a weapon, that it's a fundamental part of our culture and a way we express creativity and care. Miguel nodded, his chef's pride wounded but his determination unshaken. What if we prepare a multi-course meal, something to showcase the diversity of Earth cuisine, but without any spice at all? Sarah considered this. It's a start, but we need more. We need to show them we understand their concerns and are willing to adapt. As the humans brainstormed, the alien chefs were putting the finishing touches on their culinary retaliation. The result was a gelatinous, grayish mass that quivered ominously in its container. It contained all the nutrients a sentient being would need for a standard solar cycle, compressed into a substance with the consistency of wet cement and the flavor profile of cardboard. Behold, Krill announced proudly, the bland bomb. Let's see how the humans handle this. The alien chefs marched towards the human quarters, their bizarre concoction leading the way. As they approached, alarms blared, and security forces rushed to intercept them. In the ensuing chaos, Sarah and her team emerged from their room, hands raised in a gesture of peace. Wait, she called out. We want to talk. We want to understand. The two groups faced each other in the hallway, the humans eyeing the gray mass warily, the aliens still flinching at the memory of the spices. Cinta stepped forward, her new feathers still growing in patches. You poisoned us with your death food. Now you will experience true cuisine. Functional, efficient, and entirely free of your dangerous flavors. Miguel, despite the tension, couldn't help but be curious. May I? He asked, gesturing to the gray mass. Surprised by his willingness, the aliens allowed him to take a small sample. Miguel tasted it, his face scrunching up in concentration. The aliens watched, expecting him to collapse in agony. Instead, he swallowed and said, "Interesting texture, a bit bland for my taste, but I can see how it would be efficient." His calm reaction deflated the alien's righteous anger, replacing it with confusion. Gaxlor oozed forward. "But it's terrible. How can you stand it?" Sarah saw an opportunity. "Just as our food was overwhelming to you, yours is very mild to us. Don't you see? Our physiologies, our tastes, they're different, but that doesn't mean we can't learn from each other." A murmur ran through the alien group. They had been so focused on retaliation that they hadn't considered this perspective. Krill's antennae twitched thoughtfully. "You mean, you don't find our food offensive?" Miguel shook his head. "Not at all. In fact, I'm fascinated. The texture is unlike anything I've worked with before. I wonder, may I try adding just a touch of herb to it? Nothing spicy, I promise." The tension in the hallway slowly began to dissipate. Curiosity, the driving force behind both culinary arts and science, began to overtake fear and anger. As security forces stood down and the impromptu cultural exchange continued in the hallway, Sarah breathed a sigh of relief. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a start. She turned to Cinta. "Professor, I have a proposal. What if we restructure the program? Instead of just teaching our cuisines separately, we work together to create new dishes that all our species can enjoy." Cinta's crest rose in interest. A fusion of galactic cuisines, adapting to each other's tolerances and needs. It's an intriguing idea. As the two groups cautiously began to mingle, sharing ideas and comparing notes on their vastly different culinary traditions, a new understanding began to form. The Galactic Culinary Exchange Program wasn't just about food. It was about finding common ground between wildly different species and cultures. The Great Spice Incident, it seemed, might just become the catalyst for a true exchange of ideas, leading to a cuisine that was quite literally out of this world. Finding common ground through food. In the days following the near-disastrous confrontation, the Galactic Culinary Academy buzzed with a new energy. The human delegation, led by the ever-enthusiastic Miguel and the diplomatically savvy Sarah, worked tirelessly to rebuild trust and foster understanding. The first step was a series of workshops focused on the biology and cultural significance of food for each species. Humans learned about the delicate chemical balances required in Gaxlor's gelatinous diet, while the aliens were fascinated by the human concept of comfort food and the emotional connections humans had with certain dishes. "You mean this mac and cheese holds no significant nutritional value, yet you consume it for feelings?" Krill asked, his mandibles twitching in confusion. Miguel nodded, a wistful smile on his face. "Exactly. Sometimes the value of food goes beyond mere sustenance. It's about memory, emotion, connection." This idea was revolutionary to many of the alien species who had evolved on worlds where efficiency was key to survival. The notion that food could be a source of pleasure, not just nutrition, was both baffling and intriguing. As understanding grew, so did the culinary experiments. The Academy kitchens became a laboratory of interstellar gastronomy. Humans learned to work with nutrient pastes and chemically balanced gels, while alien chefs cautiously explored the world of human seasonings, starting with the mildest herbs. One breakthrough came when Miguel collaborated with Gaxlor to create a dish they dubbed Cosmic Comfort Gel. It combined the nutritional density and chemical balance Axor needed with subtle earth herbs that added a depth of flavor without overwhelming alien palates. The dish became an instant hit, with both humans and aliens praising its unique taste and texture. Krill, inspired by the human concept of salads, worked with Aisha to develop a crunchy nutrient medley that appealed to insectoid species while incorporating elements of earth vegetables. The resulting dish was a colorful array of textures and mild flavors that quickly became popular in the Academy cafeteria. Even Kinta got in on the action, collaborating with Sarah to create a line of galactic seasoning blends that could be customized to each species' tolerance levels. These blends allowed aliens to gradually acclimate to Earth flavors, while giving humans new and exciting taste combinations to explore. As the weeks passed, the Academy transformed. What had started as a potential diplomatic disaster had become a hotbed of culinary innovation. Students and chefs from across the galaxy requested transfers to the Academy, eager to be part of this new frontier in cooking. The human-alien fusion cuisine, as it came to be known, began to spread beyond the Academy walls. Restaurants on various worlds started offering dishes inspired by the program, and cooking shows featuring chefs from different species became the hottest thing in galactic entertainment. Sarah, watching a group of human and alien chefs excitedly discuss a new recipe, couldn't help but smile. She turned to Ambassador Zixna, who had come to witness the program's progress firsthand. Who would have thought, Sarah mused, that a simple curry could lead to all this? Zixna's eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of amusement. Indeed, Commander. It seems that in our quest to understand each other's foods, we have learned far more about each other as beings. The ambassador's words rang true. Through the challenge of adapting their cuisines, both humans and aliens have been forced to consider perspectives radically different from their own. This understanding was beginning to extend beyond the kitchen, influencing diplomatic relations and cultural exchanges in ways no one had anticipated. As the program's first cycle drew to a close, the Galactic Council convened to assess its impact. The conclusion was unanimous. The Galactic Culinary Exchange Program was a resounding success, not just in terms of gastronomy, but as a model for interspecies cooperation and understanding. Miguel, sitting in the council chamber with his fellow chefs from across the galaxy, felt a swell of pride. They had taken a potential disaster and turned it into a triumph of creativity and collaboration. As the council discussed expanding the program, Miguel leaned over to Krill, who was nibbling on a herb-infused nutrient stick. "So," Miguel whispered with a grin, "think you're ready to try a jalapeno yet?" Krill's antennae shot up in alarm, but there was a glimmer of curiosity in his compound eyes. "Perhaps," he chittered softly, "but only if you're willing to try my new batch of high-efficiency larva paste." Both chefs suppressed a chuckle, earning a stern look from Sarah. But as she turned back to the council proceedings, she couldn't help but smile. This, she realized, was what the Galactic Culinary Exchange Program was all about: pushing boundaries, trying new things, and finding friendship in the most unexpected places. As the council meeting adjourned and the chefs filed out, already discussing their next culinary adventures, one thing was clear: the universe had become a smaller, more connected place, all thanks to the unifying power of food. In kitchens and dining rooms across the galaxy, barriers were breaking down one meal at a time. The Great Spice Incident, once a potential catastrophe, was now remembered as the spark that ignited a culinary and cultural revolution. And somewhere on Earth, in a small restaurant in Mexico City, a sign appeared in the window, now serving galactic fusion cuisine. Adventurous palates welcome. The Deathworlder's spices, it turned out, weren't a weapon after all, but a gift, one that was helping to bring an entire galaxy together, one shared meal at a time.